in here on this team. So, look, I've been in a lot of different regimes and under a lot of different coordinators, and I've probably heard every linebacker term. You know, there's a Mike and a Buck and a Mac and you either a linebacker for Detroit Lions or not. Like, we don't alter that from a personnel standpoint. He's a linebacker. We're scouting a linebacker for the Detroit Lions. We're not looking for a Mac for somebody's, it's just so, and I think that's a great thing about me and Dan, and that's the foundation, that's the standard. We play a certain way, and I think that's been a vivid display for the past few years about what type of player we want. So I understand the question. I do understand the question because I get it, man. New coordinator comes in, it's like, well, I got to have this kind of guy and I have this kind of guy, And look, we scout everybody, we look at everybody, but there are certain core intangibles that I don't care what the arm length is of a specific player. If he doesn't play like how we need him to play, then it doesn't fit.
The attrition. I'm just curious, how are you a better GM for having dealt with it this season?
That's a good question. So this was the first year, especially the attrition at one spot. I mean, obviously, linebacker, we got hit in training camp at linebacker, and then it trickled into the season, but pass rusher. And this is the first time we've had to trade for a pass rusher this year, and I will say that was the most difficult player acquisition journey that I've ever dealt with. Look, you can talk about, you can look at all these names of all these starting defensive ends in the NFL, but when you start doing the work and you start making the calls, that thing shrinks down. From availability standpoint, that thing shrinks down like this. And a lot of the guys, look, we have an early trade deadline. So you start calling these other teams and these other GMs, and they might have 4 rushers. And so forget the starters. Those guys aren't even available. Like, we're talking about third and fourth. And, yes, and I can't really disagree with them where they say, look, we got 2+ months of football left, and I trade you one, and then we get another one hurt, and we only got 2. And I was like, I didn't really expect you to be rational and think about it that way, but it's true. So, there wasn't. So when we got Za'Darius, he was one of a small handful of guys that were actually available to actually get that, we felt was going to compete and contribute at a starter level. So that one was, I think that one, just going through that experience, I could say just sharpened me up a little bit. And after the Thanksgiving Day game, I know multiple people in our personnel department, including myself, never experienced poaching 3 players on a practice squad in one day. That's because, when you're committed to that player for 3 weeks, and there's a process to poach a player from a practice squad, but never done that. You poach one guy, and then that's your one poach, and that might be your one poach for weeks and weeks and weeks. But to do 3 in one day, that was a unique experience. But again, when that happened, we were very motivated. Like, it wasn't a sour. So all these guys that had to go on IR that morning, and all the guys were just excited. They're motivated. They're encouraged to go in that process, and we were able to identify guys that were able to come in and contribute.
Yeah, right there. That's so interesting to me right there. We're going to talk a little bit about what Brad Holmes was just talking about right there. We got a brand new passing game coordinator that we're going to talk about, and that and a little bit more here on today's episode of the Lionville Report.
Yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands is open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes win. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose, move on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we winning it maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me, it's never this way. We indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity.
Yeah. Welcome one, welcome all, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lion Villain Report. I am your host, it's your boy, Russell Wayne, here for a special Friday edition of the Villain Report. It's off season, and we got some things to talk about. We're broadcasting live right now into the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page, the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page, as well as the Huddle Sports Network on Roku, as well as the Detroit Lions News Podcast Facebook page. And we appreciate anybody that goes into any of those spots, likes, comments, shares, because we are the UDFA of sports podcasting right there. Lion Villain Report off-season edition right here. We're going to bring you everything that is relevant as it comes right here. Is a as-needed episodes right here. And we got a little something. You know, I don't want to talk about backup punters all off-season, but if a backup punter comes in, I am going to do a little video, and I'm going to talk about it. But I'm just not going to talk about it the entire off-season. But welcome one, welcome all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's faith, family, and then football in that order. We use football to spend time with our family, create memories. We don't let football use us. And welcome to the program right here. I want to say hello to everybody that is up in the chat. Broski was the first person in here. What's up, Broski? Already talking trash. Love it. We got JV in the house. John Herman in the house. Good morning, Tyler. And good morning to the bad guy. You're the actual reason I got that drop in the first place. Oh, it's Friday. It's time to get some. I'm trying out a new thing right here. So let me share a little something right here. I got my little presentations up here, and I'm hoping that they work, and they do. Cool. Lions hire David Shaw as their passing game coordinator. And as a lot of these things, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend to you guys like I knew a ton about these guys going into any of this right here. And I'm just being honest with you right here. David Shaw, I'm doing research as they're hiring these guys. And the thing is, the reasons that they hire these guys, to me, I think is like, I'm not the professional. So I'm not going to be like, yeah, this is such a good move, man. Like, I know this David Shaw. He's going to do all kinds of trick plays and do all these. And it's like, the Lions like continuity. It's obvious that they like continuity. They want to not change a lot on offense. And one of the reasons that they brought in John Morton was because he had familiarity with Ben Johnson's offense. Actually, he was a big part of building that in 2022 when he became the offensive coordinator. So John Morton was considered for the offensive coordinator job when they gave it to Ben Johnson in the first place. And he moved on. You know, when it's like Tanner Engstrand. You know, we hired John Morton. It is only natural that Tanner Engstrand is going to go and seek an offensive coordinator job because that's what he's been training for. That's what he's been being prepared for. So the hire of David Shaw here isn't really a big surprise because he did that job that he's going to do here with John Morton over in Denver. So the continuity, everything is still there. So, and David Shaw, from what I've read, is, he's a tricky dude, right? And really, what they've done in the past, they're over there with the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. And that's a good sample size right there. That's a good attaboy for John Morton and David Shaw working with Bo Nix and him having success in year one, working under Sean Payton, who Dan Campbell worked under. So we're talking about similar terminology. I mean, I don't know how any of these guys are going to work. I don't know how John Morton's going to work. All I know is John Morton has never had a good opportunity before, but he's made the most out of his opportunities. I mean, he played offensive coordinator, and we're talking about John Morton. John Morton is the reason that David Shaw was hired. So let's talk. Let's do a little something here on Mr. Shaw. So David Shaw, right here, 52, has spent 3 decades in a variety of coaching roles, both in the NFL and college football. He worked under Jim Harbaugh as offensive coordinator at Stanford with Andrew Luck. And then he had NFL stops at the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, along with the Raiders. The Raiders. You like that? So the Lions led the NFL in scoring last season at 33.2 points a game and had the NFL's second-ranked passing offense at 263 yards per game. So Dan Campbell said after the season that he hoped as much to keep the same terminology. And Morton, who the Lions officially announced as coordinators, helped Johnson design the team's offense right here. This is what I'm reading. This is David Burkett that I'm bringing this from. So Shaw previously worked with the new Lions offensive coordinator John Morton and with the then Oakland Raiders in 1998 to 2001, as well as the Broncos. This past season, Morton was the Broncos' pass game coordinator in the past 2 seasons after working with the Lions in 2022. So this is an obvious, it's like we're replacing Tanner Engstrand before he's even gone. So to me, when I look at these situations, there's a couple of different jobs that you're going to go take, right? And I want to relate this to music, right? Because I'm a musician. Now, there's a couple of different opportunities I can get as a musician. Sometimes I just show up at a restaurant and I'm just playing background music. It's all good. I'm not the center of the attention, and you got to handle it a certain way. But every once in a while, I get an opportunity to work with other musicians that are really, really, really good. And that makes me excited to practice. That makes me excited to work. That makes me excited to learn the music and do it the best that I can. And I think that that's what we're going to have here. Sometimes you got to go into a music situation to where I got to teach everybody, which is fine. I don't mind teaching people how to learn music, how to sing, how to play guitar, how to play bass. Like if I'm ever needed in those areas, I'm willing to go and teach. But I enjoy going into a situation where all the guys are already badass. I ain't got to teach them shit. Where I can just walk in and I can be me. But like the best version of me is only going to contribute. And that's what David Shaw's walking into. He ain't in a situation where he's got a rookie quarterback where you got to develop him. You got to show him how to do 2-step drop, 4-step drop, 6-step drop. So he ain't got to do that here. So this is an opportunity that I think that David Shaw is going to come in and he's going to be excited because he's going to be able to use his talents with an already talented roster. You know, thank you, Ben Johnson. You've developed the offense, but the offense is a machine now and it's ready to go. So now you're going to get to put your brain in. And I'm not saying he's going to be better than Ben Johnson. I'm just saying that he's going to be different than Ben Johnson, but all of the players are really good. You ain't trying to develop rookie running backs or offensive linemen or, oh, yeah, I got to teach these guys where to go. These guys know where to go. When he says that he wants to keep the same terminology, that just means that we're rolling into training camp. We're, senior year in college. We're not installing an offense here. David Shaw isn't coming here to install. David Shaw is coming here to take what we have with the talent that we had that it still continues to develop in an upward trajectory and tweak. You put your spins on the things that we're already doing. So, I mean, I like the hiring not because what I know about David Shaw. And, oh, wow, he knows the X's and O's and he's ready to go. I like David Shaw because Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell like David Shaw, and you can see a pattern of how they're doing things. And because you can see a pattern of how they do things, you're also noticing a pattern that has to do with winning. Because when you do things a certain way, and the pattern that you're seeing is winning, and then you see them continue a pattern that has been working, then I feel good about it. The cool thing about developing guys is, for one, besides the obvious stuff like the draft capital that you would get, but learning how to develop, having a system of development creates opportunities like this, right? So part of the reason these guys want to come here is because of the loaded offense. It's an opportunity to show your stuff, right? I mean, I know that these coaches are a little bit older, but I mean, you can coach. You can coach for a while. And you're going to get a different twist. From what I know about David Shaw, from what I'm reading about David Shaw, is that he's way overboard on the trick plays. Like, let's go trick plays. Broski's trying to run his own show in here, and when he puts wrong information in there. So you got part of your information right, Broski. I'm not trying to call you out, but I'm going to use your comment here to help everybody here so they don't get mad at you. But he was the passing game coordinator at Denver last year. He has been an executive at Denver, so you are correct in saying that. But you are incorrect in saying that he wasn't a coach. He is a coach. He was their passing game coordinator. He's doing the same job there that's what it said, David Burkett. Unless David Burkett's full of crap, but he's not. David Burkett is a very well-respected journalist. But he was an executive. And he's worked with. Your information is half correct. Working as an executive, you are half correct. You know where half of the pieces fit. But David Shaw did work as an executive, and it was Johnny Morton that was the passing game coordinator. I was incorrect on that part. It was the Oakland Raiders where he was coach. Where he was a coach before. So Broski has the Moski today. I read that incorrectly. Not Broski. He was an executive this past year. It was John Morton that was the passing game coordinator. And John Morton gets the bump up. He gets the promotion. And I guess getting to be the passing game coordinator for David Shaw, I guess that is a promotion too. I don't know if you would look at an executive position. But they have worked with each other before. He has worked with him as a coach before when they were at Oakland. Then Oakland. That is correct. So here it is. But I like continuity. The idea here is you can see a pattern in how Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are running this. And obviously it's working, you know? I mean, the thing is like, I like to use where I can make predictions on if things are going to work or not. It's like when we look at our past, you know, the Lions haven't won in 30 years. I mean, that you're showing a pattern there where the Lions hadn't done anything in like 30 years. And there was a pattern of bad front office or bad coaching, you know, not enough talent. You know, there was a bunch of different things that were recipe for disaster through every regime up until now. So in order to change something, you have to do something different. And the Lions since been doing something different. There's a different pattern that's been forming. Like how we acquire talent, how we go about the draft process, how we go about acquiring, you know, free agents and, you know, going through practice squad. Like, to me, that was fascinating looking at the way what Brad Holmes was saying right there about how he acquired Zadarius Smith. You know, it's very cool to me because it's like in the media, you know, you got, oh, they need to go get Max Crosby. They, you know, all these bullshit things that they throw out there that, you know, we have to acknowledge as like media guys, right? Oh, okay. Well, they've been talking about Max Crosby, so here I am on my show. I got to talk about Max Crosby. When in the back of my mind, I'm going, there ain't no freaking way they're going to get Max Crosby. He wasn't realistic. And that's what Brad Holmes was saying. He's like, you're looking at this defensive end market in the middle of the season, right? It's hard enough to get a good defensive end, period. But then that list shrinking down to like nothing. And then the number of actual available defensive ends is such a small list. And then there's like one or two that have actually are actually starters. And Zadarius Smith was one of those. So I'm glad that he kind of highlighted how hard it is because, Lions need to get a pass rusher. And it's like, yeah, they do, but it's not that freaking easy. And you don't just, these high-end pass rushers, they don't just fall out of the sky. I mean, be happy you have one, Like even Broski, you can relate to this too. You got your Sweat. Sweat is a bona fide number one. And then you got guys after that may burst out. You have your own Josh Pascals on your own team. It's like, do you believe in that? I don't know. Maybe. But bona fide stud top 10 guys, there's only 10 of them. And you either have one or you don't. You don't get two. Like, you have a chance. Every team would have a chance. If you have a top 10 defensive end like the Lions do, and like I believe that the Bears do, what you want to be able to do is you want to go into the draft and you want to be able to draft one to pair with your bona fide guy. So the Lions are going to probably pay Aiden Hutchinson this offseason and give him the bag. And, you want to draft, they're going to draft. If I had to make if you want a spoiler alert villain call, this is what I'm going to do. My prediction is, for one, there's not a lot of roster spots. I'm going to set this up first. There's not a lot of roster spots available this year. And there's a lot of there's not a lot of spots that are available because we have a lot of guys that are under contract that are studs that it's going to be hard to crack that lineup. And Broski's like, the Bears desperately need a second. Hey, welcome to the club. There aren't too many teams that have two studs. I mean, name them. Chargers. Bosa and Mac, that was pretty good. I'm just trying to think of, you guys do that. Brainstorm. Who's the best duos? I want two studs. Not two really good guys, but like two guys where, the Browns had that with Zadarius Smith and Garrett, two high-end guys, but still. It's a high-end guy and a guy that really, really wants to be good. I like Z. He's a really good player, but upper, the guy you just gotta, oh shit, here he comes. The Nick Bosas, the Aiden Hutchinsons. The Lions need that. That I think that they're going to do that. So my prediction is, since they don't have a lot of roster spots, that they're going to go for it. You're going to see the Lions trade up in this year's draft, and they're going to acquire their guy, much like they did last year. And I am a 100% on the Terrion Arnold train. I think this kid is going to be just fine. He's going to be a stud cornerback. I mean, not too many cornerbacks come into the league and are tabled with the responsibility that he had. And during the beginning of the season, Terrion Arnold was a lot. He was making mistakes. But those mistakes, like lower, and he's developing. Now he's going to get the whole off season to continue that development. This game's fast. Okay, it is. It's hard to be a stud cornerback right out of the gate. And it took him a minute, but by the end of the season, he's where you want him to be. He's going to keep on upward trajectory. I mean, even Darius Slay took like almost 2 full years. Cornerback's hard, man. Welcome to the NFL. You get to go up against Mike Evans in your second game ever. You get to go up against Cooper Kupp. I'm. If you want to give Terrion Arnold a hard time, that's fine. That's fair. He didn't have a good first season when you look at the whole numbers. But you're looking for progression, especially now since everybody's already eliminated. So there's no games to win or lose right now. It's about getting better. And he ended the season better. So, God, I went on a Terrion Arnold. Went off on Terrion Arnold right there. That's okay. All right, let's get in here. Look at some of that stuff. And when I'm looking at the Lions, what they had done here in the offseason, it's almost like they were ready for this. I love that, they end up giving him the run game coordinator, Hank Fraley, right here, and retaining Hank Fraley. It's so big. Honestly, I think that Hank Fraley, is tied hand in hand with Frank Ragnow, whether Frank Ragnow wants to continue playing. I think it's with Hank Fraley. Where Hank Fraley goes, I think that's where Ragnow is, right? These guys have been it's almost their whole damn career together. So I am very glad. It sucks to lose Antoine Randall. JT Barrett, I know that he got some attaboys for what he was doing here in Detroit. But Hank Fraley was such a good, I thought he would get the offensive coordinator job. But the fact that he's willing to stay here, and that's awesome. I love me some Hank Fraley. And then the Calvin Shepard, I called this. I called this at the beginning of last season. It's like, this is what they do. The John Morton one surprised me because I thought for sure it was going to be Hank Fraley or Scotty Montgomery. But now that they've done the John Morton hire, it makes sense why you would hire John Morton, because he helped develop the offense. You don't want to change the terminology. Boom. Maybe they didn't think Tanner Engstrand was ready, obviously. So I'm okay with that. And then Calvin Shepard, they've been talking about that all year long. Called at the beginning of the season. He's going to be in there. Now, Terrell Williams was so damn good that I thought that would be somebody that would be considered for the defensive coordinator job. But, man, if you watched Hard Knocks at all, how could you not fall in love with Calvin Shepard? Right there. The kid, he was a player not too long ago, it seems like. He's only been coaching for like 3 years. And he's obviously got a gift to getting through to people, because that linebacker room was trash in 21, and then you're making lemons with your lemonade with Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes. Calvin deserves some credit for that. If anybody deserved to be promoted to a defensive coordinator job, it was Calvin Shepard. And to the surprise of zero Lions fans, Calvin Shepard is the defensive coordinator. What free agent would you like to see the Lions sign? I got a couple of them in here. The thing is, that Brad Holmes, if I can get into his little brain right here, I think Brad Holmes, you can kind of predict, where he's going to go. And in free agency, I don't think that there's anything more important than the Lions maintaining as many of these guys, as long as they're talented enough. And you got to ask some of the questions that are out there. But as far as free agents, I got one for you. That's out there. And it just seems like such a Brad Holmes guy right there. As a pass rusher, we need a pass rusher. You want a guy that's going to contribute to the room. I'll take Kuntz. So let's talk about Kuntz here for a minute. I got to get my stuff up on him. For one, here's a reason that you're going to love Kuntz, or that I think that Brad Holmes, he loves the comeback injury. He loves the comeback injury, the story. He recovered from an injury, and that's what we have right here as far as an edge defender. It just seems like that this would be the type of guy. He's the 16th ranked guy via PFF as far as, and that's overall. I would say 1, 2, 3. He's the 4th ranked player, pass rusher available in free agency. He's 26 years old. He suffered a season-ending knee injury before the 2024 season, and instead carried over the momentum from the back half of 2023. Was trending towards being a very good NFL player. He missed all last season. And the silver lining, getting injured early in the year, which just means that, he missed the entire season. He will be completely healthy by training camp. He'll be healthier entering this free agency period than if he got hurt during the season. So a short-term deal for Malcolm Kuntz. They're saying 2 years, $18 million a year. But here's a player that was ascending, had an injury, not injured anymore. Malcolm Kuntz, defensive end. It seems like a Brad Holmes type of things. Right there. And I'm going to go through some of these. I only want to bring up one. I want to go off because the free agency's coming up. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it, but I want to throw one of these guys in here. Detroit, the bad guy, so as long as he's better than Pascal. What's wrong with Pascal? Yeah, Pascal didn't have a good last game. But Josh Pascal had his best season, which isn't, I'm not going to tell you that's that we got the next guy. But you're already not going to get what you wanted out of him. That at least that's what it seems like right now. It doesn't seem like he's lived up to that number 2, that second round pick where he was. Now, with that being said, that part's a disappointment, bad guy, and I agree with you. But Pascal had his best season, and I think that he's going to be good enough to make this team. And well, I mean, you could cut ties with him. He's going into the final year of his deal. It's a contract year. So I would expect to get best effort out of Josh Pascal. But I do not expect him to be the guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson. But he can come in, play inside, outside. He provides depth. He just doesn't look too good chasing after mobile quarterbacks. So, but no, I think that when we go into this draft, that they're going to trade up because there's just not a lot of room on here that they should sign. Aleem McNeil doesn't look like he's going to be ready. But the thing is that he's trying. It's a 9-month injury, and 9 months puts him right at the beginning of the season. So I don't think that we're going to have him at the beginning of the season. But last year we had the Minnesota Vikings, and Hawkinson was back by week 7, and then he got injured in the last week. Well, Aleem McNeil spent 5 weeks on IR before the end of the season, so he got injured a lot earlier than that, at least by a month. So with that timetable, if he's on the Hawkinson timetable that he did, you know, you're talking week 2, week 3, we could get Aleem McNeil back. All right, let's try Aiden Hutchinson. You know, said he would have been ready. He would have been ready by the Super Bowl, but we couldn't get there for him. But he'll most definitely be ready by the beginning of the season. I think that this contract gets done this offseason. The thing is like, you don't want to wait on this. The minute that a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph becomes available for an extension, you do it. It's only going to get more expensive. And when you know that you got these grit core players, and you know, and you got a giant bag of money too, $67 million going to be available when they roll over this. Get it done. They're rolling over this cap probably just to pay Aiden. I mean, you got enough right there to pay with the rollover. You pay Aiden, pay Kirby, and then you're still left with $30 million. And then go get something done, man. Go on a Super Bowl run. Get somebody in there. But I love that. Dan Campbell's ready. I'm going to reload, going to run this back. I mean, most of the guys are still here, man. Like, you can clearly see the vision that Brad Holmes had, that Dan Campbell had. It's like, how do you not feel good? Because my favorite and most scariest thing about any team is progression. And right now, Brad Holmes is drafted during, like if you're just comparing general managers that started in the time period that Brad Holmes has been a GM, he's drafted more Pro Bowl and all-pro players than any GM by a mile. So it's the best young team. Now, I know that Green Bay has a younger team, but the Lions' young players are crazy. The fact that we're going to be looking at this season three, and the 2023 draft class with Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell had his best season. He's a top 15 linebacker, unarguable. You can't even argue that. I'm calling it that. And if you want to cherry pick stats, you can put him in the top 10 linebackers in the NFL, Jack Campbell. So look out year 4 or year 3 for Jack Campbell, the All-Pro. And if that happens, then that would be all 4 of the top. They have 4 picks, 4 All-Pro picks. That what that essentially means is you got 4 players that are top 3 at their position. That's unheard of in one draft class. So when he say reload and run it back, we're not reloading a lot, because it's like this is going to be a hard lineup to crack going forward. Now, I don't know, did you guys see the video with this kid from Marshall? Now, this is one of the reasons I think the Lions might be trading up. Because at this point, you got developmental pieces, right? You got guys that you've invested draft capital in that are still developing that you're not gonna get rid of right now, like Giovanni Manu, like Broderick Martin. You're still developing these players. But you can't teach what this young man had. Mike Green, he went into the Senior Bowl with cruel intentions and just bodied everybody they put in front of him. Kind of reminding people of Khalil Mack. Now, you want to excite the Lions fan base? By the time this guy, Mike Green, gets to the draft, the Lions are probably going to have to trade up into the top 10 to get this guy. Right now, they got him predicted, in the 20s, to where we wouldn't have to trade up a lot right here. But if this guy does anything like this at the combine, this guy's going to shoot up the draft board so much. He might be the first defensive end taken. So this may be a pipe dream at this point. But you want a monster, but this is a rich defensive end draft too. So I am most certain that Brad Holmes is going to find him a beast. But if you get a chance, you go out there. I'll see if I can't bring it up. Mike Green in the house. Mean Joe Mike Green. Oh man, yeah, there. I could put this. Oh, yeah. I'll put that in there. I'll share that one instead. Let's go. Hold on 1 second. I got it. Okay. Why are you being hard? They're being hard on me. Let's get rid of this guy. We'll try it again. I'm sorry for my technical difficulty, guy. There we go. I gotta look at this. This is Mike Green, baby. You want to see that again? Let's get this a couple times. Ow! Take that!
We're gonna bite a kneecap off. We're gonna bite a kneecap off.
Come on, man. That is abuse right there. He created some abuse on that guy. What are you doing? Wow. That's insane. Mike Green. Come on, man. You abused that poor kid. Why you gotta treat him like that? Why you gotta treat him like that? But that's what the Lions need, right? You know, the Bears, you looking for that? That's what you need. You need somebody who's going to destroy somebody on the opposite side of Hutchinson. That's what you need.
We're gonna bite a kneecap off.
Let's go. So here's a good question for you. How would you rate Aaron Glenn's time in Detroit on a scale of 1 to 11? Because if you look at the numbers, Aaron Glenn probably doesn't look very good, right? But there's a reason that he got a head coaching job. And there's a reason why all of these players respect him so much. So, as far as the villain is concerned, I mean, I'll give him a 9 out of 11 just based on what he had to deal with. I mean, this roster is built. Now it's about reloading every year because, yeah, we need a defensive end. There's players that we need. I get that. Like, you definitely want to have high-end players everywhere, right? We definitely want to get these guys, but from the beginning, the Lions have invested more capital and resources into the offensive side of the ball. There's no doubt about it. And up until this last year, you definitely had at least one part of the defense that was glaringly, you got to fix this. Now, as far as the Lions needing a pass rusher opposite of Hutchinson, I can agree with that. But as far as us having this gaping hole on defensive end, I'm not going to agree with that. We don't have a gaping hole at defensive end. We got Zadarius Smith and we have Aiden Hutchinson under contract. We've never even seen what those two look like together. Out there together. And this is why I think that Kelvin Shepard is going to reap the rewards of Aaron Glenn's hard work. And that's why I have no problem giving him a 9, maybe even 10 out of 11. Aaron Glenn worked more with less. And he did it. He proved it. He can develop. And he can get the most out of the players. So, 9 or 10 out of 11 for me. What do you got? How would you rate Aaron Glenn's experience here? By the numbers, I mean, you'd give him a 5 if you're just talking numbers. But the Lions finished the offense in 2023 draft. They didn't really finish the defense yet. You know, I think that this draft right here, they can put the cherry on top of the defense because they got crazy talent all over the place on defense. So I give Aaron Glenn all. So when we go into this next year and the Lions have a top 10 defense, everyone's going to go, wow, look at what Kelvin Shepard did. Wow, he's so awesome. And really, if that happens, which I believe it will, when the Lions have a top 10 defense, Kelvin Shepard is going to have to go get his pen and paper out and write a thank you card to Aaron Glenn for developing the seeds of this great defense. This defense is going to be great. You know why I know this defense is going to be great? Because there's great players on this defense. So, I mean, we didn't even get to see what this defense would look like at its full potential. We didn't even get to see what happened. And, like, God, doesn't that bring you up at night as a Lion fan to go, man, what would have happened if we would have had that explosive offense that we had going into the playoffs this year, and then just add Aiden Hutchinson to the roster, just to add the regular guys that we already had on the team? You think the Lions can beat the Washington Commanders with this defense the way that it is this year? Just add Aiden Hutchinson. That's a thought that'll keep you up at night because it's not reality. Because the reality is Aiden Hutchinson wasn't available and you got beat. But is that Aaron Glenn's fault? Holy crap. 21 guys on IR. I mean, 17 just on defense, man. That's like your entire starting defense, the backup defense, half of the backups. And you're working with whatever you had after that, and you still went 15-2. Aaron Glenn deserves some flowers, baby. And the Jets gave it to him. He earned it, so I give him a 10 out of 11 right there. What's your thoughts? How would you rate Aaron Glenn's time in Detroit on a scale of 1 to 11? Leave it in the comments. This is the Lion Villain Report. Ooh, Khalif Raymond. I got a couple guys right here that I'm going to bring up, kind of going back and forth. It's something that we talked about last offseason. What are you going to do about wide receiver 3? And we got a couple of guys that kind of served in that role. I don't know which one you want to call the wide receiver 3. But Tim Patrick was probably the wide receiver 3. You got the punt returner right here. All-purpose yards. Getting a punt return touchdown. Khalif Raymond. And then making clutch catches. He had 2 touchdown catches. He didn't have a lot of receptions, but it seemed like every time that he made a reception, it was huge. And that's the way that it's been for his entire career here in Khalif Raymond. So call this a Khalif Raymond appreciation bit. 12 yards per touch. He scored 3 touchdowns last year, and he was injured for part of the season. Probably would have had better stats than that if he would have played a full season. But Khalif Raymond. And then Tim Patrick. He deserves to be on that list. I mean, this was the talk of the offseason last year. The talk of the offseason was Tim Patrick. Can he be a viable number 3 receiver? And it wasn't even that. The talk of the offseason was, who the hell are the Lions going to have as a number 3 wide receiver? They didn't draft anybody. Oh, my God, they need to question Brad Holmes. What is he going to do? We don't have a wide receiver number 3. It's like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. They'll find somebody, and what they do, they go in the practice squad. They bring in Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, and Tim Patrick, as a number 3 wide receiver, that's what you want right there. We need a big body guy. Well, There you go, Tim Patrick. Now, he did play well enough that he might go get a bag somewhere else, so we might not be able to retain Tim Patrick. But we'll see. I mean, if we do, then you've almost maintained the entire continuity you've had on offense. So that's Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, I appreciate you guys. Because number 3, you don't get all the Brandon Stokelys of the world. They don't get the big flowers. Daniel says God is good. I agree with you, Daniel. That's right. Khalif Raymond, Tim Patrick, serving well in that number 3 wide receiver role. You know, maybe this offense will be geared more around 2 tight ends because I like Brock Wright. I mean, there's part of me, I think if they gave Brock Wright more touches that he would be fine in that role. We almost lost him. So I would like to see this offense go to more like 2 tight end sets, in which case you've got your 2 starting wide receivers and you got your 2 starting tight ends. And then, I mean, it all depends. I would be totally okay with them re-signing Tim Patrick, but we'll have to see. There's plenty of cap money to do that. If he doesn't try to go get a bag from us, then I think that'll be fine. Get you some Tim Patrick. Are we finally done? Are we finally done with this, Brad Holmes? We got a couple experiments right here, man. Are we done with these experiments? Because I definitely understand it from a roster standpoint last year. Because you're trying to get as much talent as you can. But now, you know, you've got guys that you've developed. You didn't have, you know, your rake straw in Terrion Arnold last year. So you wanted to fill the back end of the roster with guys like Emmanuel Mosley. We don't have enough pass rushers. So we want to fill the back end of the roster with guys like Davenport. But do we really need to do this? Do we really need to continue this experiment? Because I think that we can get as just a guy with the talent of Davenport. Because here's the thing: is Davenport's talented. I think that Emmanuel Mosley kind of proved that he was talented in his career, but they can't get themselves to be available. And we have a bunch of guys on our roster already signed under contract. We got a ton of money to get this done this year while maintaining what we have because we've drafted well. We still got the rookie contracts coming in. So the villain is done with the experiment. Now, I may not get what I want. They may re-sign him. It'll be for nothing. Give him that chance to compete because just remember, it's not a 53-man roster right now. It's a 90-man roster. Now, we may have 41 roster spots settled right now to where there's not a lot of roster room to get onto the 53. But I am done. The villain is done with this experiment of Mark Davenport and Emmanuel Mosley. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments. This is the Lion Villain Report. So there is some media that has been reported out there that said that Ben Johnson actually reached out to Dennis Allen before the season was over. Now, I can't hear news like this and not react to it. How would you react to this? Knowing your offensive coordinator wasn't fully focused. Because it's impossible, guys. I'm not hating right here. This is not something of hate. This isn't something that I'm throwing out here because I'm butthurt. This is just something that I need to react to, right? This is news that came out. Ben Johnson reached out to Dennis Allen before the season was end. And if this is true, then he wasn't focused. Because if you're focusing at a high level and you have any type of thing that diverts your concentration, it's not fair. I'm not mad at Ben Johnson for this. I'm mad at the NFL. I'm mad at the NFL because the NFL has a rule that allows losing teams to reach out to teams that are competing for a playoff push for their next season when the season that was now isn't done. I have a problem with that. And that's not Ben Johnson's problem. He didn't break any rules. He didn't break a rule. This is just a character thing, you know? And you got and just because you don't have 100% good character doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful either. He could go there and be very successful. Because you got to point to that Nick Saban example. Nick Saban bailing on Michigan State. So Benedict Johnson, reaching out to Dennis Allen, to me, my opinion. You want my opinion on it? You want the villain's opinion on it? You couldn't have concentrated as much as you needed to and put your full concentration in if this is true. You just can't. You can't do anything at a high level. Nobody's that good at compartmentalizing everything. It's not a cry. It's not, oh, it's not fair. It is what it is, man. You did it. You're where you are now. But it's just unfortunate to know that you didn't give us your all. And miss me with it. Miss me with it. Oh, you just cry. I'm not crying about it. It's just impossible for you to do that. If you're reaching out to Dennis Allen before the season was over, that you think that was what, a 2-minute conversation, and all of a sudden he just turned it off? You don't just turn it off. That means that he was thinking about what he's going to do with the Bears. What his offensive, defensive coordinators are going to be. How's he going to fix the Bears? What's the Bears? I got a playoff game too. It's impossible. I mean, this is not a complaint. This is just reality. If you've compartmentalized and you're trying to move it over here and I feel about this way, but yet I'm also working for the rival at the same time, it's impossible, man. Miss me with it. Save that talk. Save that talk, Ben, for somebody who might believe it. You can't tell me you were 100% focused. You can't. And you would be lying. Unless, of course, you didn't get a hold of Dennis Allen, but you did. Bear fan Mark says he had the NFL's leading offense in the NFL. How could you say that he wasn't being focused? Okay. I watched the last game. And I also watched all of the games that led up to him being the number one scoring offense, and it wasn't the same thing. The facts are the facts. You cannot 100% focus on what you're focusing on. Ben didn't even let the stink wear off before he was hired. And that's the thing. My problem is not with Ben Johnson. My problem is with the NFL and having a rule that they're even allowed to do this. This is an easy fix. It is what it is. It's an easy fix. All you have to do is say, well, the deadline for hiring your coach stops and ends at the beginning and the end of the season. The day after the Super Bowl, you can go have a I want to be a head coach party, and you can go interview with everybody. But the fact that that happened during the middle of the season, it's bullshit. It's not fair, but it's not something that I cry about or say that that's Ben's fault. The NFL has the rule that he's allowed to do that, and all Ben Johnson did was take the interview and go and do it. That also fixes the compartmentalizing thing. You know, if he's reaching out and not being focused. Because obviously you're not going to be focused on it if you're not allowed to interview or think about it or have I mean, you have to be focused on your interview. What did he do? What did you go to the interview and just say, I'm really focused on the Lions? But no, he had to go in there with game plans, tell them what they're going to do on offense, what they're going to do on defense, what they're going to do on special teams. Who are the possible guys that he could hire as the different offensive and defensive coordinator? He had to compartmentalize. He had to. It's not my opinion. That was what happened. So, yeah, he did have the number one scoring offense. And for 17 weeks, 16 weeks, he was very focused on it until he wasn't. And maybe he was unfocused the whole year and had the number one offense. I don't know. But having the number one offense might have something to do with players too. Now, I know that he's the greatest offensive coordinator of all time. But Jahmyr Gibbs, all-pro. Top 3 unarguable offensive line in the NFL. Top 5 QB in the NFL. No, top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Top 3 number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. Maybe a top 3 tight end in the NFL. So Ben Johnson had some toys here. But that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm not. The thing is like I'm moved on from that already. I'm not mad at Ben no more. Like I said, I'm mad at the rule. The rule's what made that possible. Ben Johnson didn't do anything wrong. The problem that people have with Ben Johnson is the character type of thing. It's okay. It's okay. I believe that karma hits. And to me, Ben Johnson, after listening to his press conference, the Lions are the least of his worries. I mean, you're already taking shots at Matt LaFleur, and you haven't even coached a game yet? I don't even know if you have your team yet. That's gutsy. That's guts. Ben Johnson has a lot of guts to take a shot at another NFL team during his opening press conference. You know how Dan Campbell are.
We're going to bite a kneecap off. You've had enough of that shit.
Some of those things live forever. So if Ben Johnson doesn't sweep the Packers next year,
We're going to bite a kneecap off. You've had enough of that shit.
that's a tough media circus if you don't beat the Packers twice next year, Ben Johnson. So the Lions are the least of your worries. And maybe you just think you're just going to own the Packers, and you're feeling good about what Ben Johnson said, right? I'm curious to see what Broski would say about that. All right. But that's the truth right there. Ben Johnson reached out. What do you think about that? I want to know what that's like. In the comments, let me know. This is the Lion Villain Report. I saw this today. Had to make a little graphic for it. The evolution of the Lions logo over the years. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you get into that kind of stuff. Third-year monsters. Third-year monsters right there. That's what I'm talking about. Like, there's not available spots on the roster, and a lot of these spots, that's why I believe that the Lions will trade up. Because they say, oh, well, we can't, we draft best player available. Not when you trade up, you don't. When you trade up, you're taking the best player available. You're making it happen. No, don't get it twisted. I'm not angry at Ben. I am angry at Ben, but for the character part of it. Had nothing to do with him being a professional. He didn't do anything wrong as a professional, but I am mad at him. I am mad. He could have handled that better. He could have did the city of Detroit better, but he didn't. He handled it the way that he did, and we will remember that. You only get a chance to you get a chance to show your character when you make major moves like this. And he showed what he showed. He showed what he showed. And I'm going to agree with you with this right here. Central Scrutinizer. It was 5 turnovers that lost the game. One of those turnovers, I know for sure, was a kind of a dumb play call. When you talk about Jamison Williams throwing the football when you're down. I mean, you live with the trick play, you die with the trick play. But do you think that running trick plays when you're down and you're turning the ball over, you're making mistakes? I think that the timing of calling trick plays. To me, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a coach, but you call a play that based off of how your team's doing, right? You go out there. I mean, there's some of those trick plays where you could see it working, but you could see the offense working beforehand. But at any rate, we don't need to blame. I'm not going to blame Ben Johnson. I mean, we lost that game. We lost that game, and honestly, after watching, well, maybe I am going to blame Ben Johnson a little bit. No, actually, I am going to blame Ben Johnson a little bit because I watched that NFC Championship game, and I watched a dominant offensive line blow people off the line of scrimmage, and Saquon Barkley ran all over that team because they can't stop the run. Ben Johnson called 14 run plays to Jahmyr Gibbs, who was doing the same thing. So if we're talking about who to blame, now Jared Goff deserves his part of the blame too. But Ben Johnson deserves his part of the blame as well. You have a top 2 running back in the NFL. You gave him 14 rushes. Give me a freaking break. Yeah, Jared Goff turned the ball over a lot. What the hell are you running the ball, or why are you passing the ball for? When you got a running back that averages 6 yards a carry. I love Ben Johnson while he was here. I'm not mad at Ben Johnson for having the number 1 offense. But if we're going to criticize Jared Goff, we got to criticize Ben Johnson for not running the damn football. All right. Rant over. I'm not even that mad. It's okay. We'll get it done. Let me see what I got left on here. Oh, there we go. We got these third-year monsters. That's what I wanted to hit up. That can't be understated, these third-year monsters. Because these guys aren't top at their position. They're top 10 at their position. They're not top 5. These guys may be top 3 at their position and not 2 or 1. I mean, these are high-end elite type of players that have been incubating, that are just getting better. 3 of them are already all pros. That's why the future's good. Is that Aiden Hutchinson I see coming out of the phone booth with the Superman music faintly playing in the background? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, defense is going to look a little different with him out there. Oh, Jameson waving the yee-hee. Yeah, getting the fines. Constant improvement. It's the scariest thing in all of football and all of sports is improvement. And you got players. Players can make coaches look good. Coaches can make players look good. But coaches love to come into situations where they got players that already got it down. But I agree that the Lions, when it comes to trading, or not trading, but this upcoming draft, they will be trading up to get their guy. You heard it here with the villain. This is the Lion Villain Report. Doing that thing. You can join me as needed during the off season. Right here, brought to you by NFL Shop. You can scan that code, save up 25% off of your order from our affiliate marketing partners at NFL Shop. Thank you to the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page, the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page, Joe Chapp and the Detroit Lions News Podcast Facebook page, as well as Roku, the NFL Huddle Sports Network on Roku. It's faith, family, then football. In that order, we use football. Spend time with our family and create memories. We don't let football use us. That's going to conclude my broadcast for today. I will see you as needed. We got to talk about these free agencies. I'm going to be recording some stuff here, and I love it when you guys are here live for that. So with that being said, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys. Hope to see you guys very soon. Peace out.
Hey, yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose.